Noel, the 14th standard contract, and we're talking about depth here. There's one more standard contract spot.
Mm-hmm.
Do you think there's a glaring, I guess, not hole, but spot that they could fill at a particular position? Do you think that that's the third point guard?
I mean, you think it kind of has to be, right? I mean, who else, right? Unless you want Keon Ellis to be that. Well, I mean, he's on the two-way, I guess.
Yeah,
But I mean, he can still technically be the third point guard if you
true.
want. But I mean, you kind of want him in the G League at that point. I mean, that you have three guys at every position now, right? So I mean, it makes sense. You don't really have that backup, that third string point guard at the moment. So I mean, it makes the most sense, right?
Yeah, but it's like, I don't know. I mean, like the options in terms of going out and bringing in a third point guard would be like Ish Smith, which, I mean, in terms of a third point guard, that would make some sense. Ish Smith kind of gives you that veteran presence. You know, he used the former fastest player in the league with the current fastest player in the league. I remember when John Wall got bought out, everybody's like, bring John Wall in to be your backup point guard. Why? I don't understand. What are you talking about? But I kind of like the idea that it's like, we'll think about their speed together. I'm like, okay, well, now you're kind of saying something interesting. But yeah, I don't know. But and then, of course, there's that whole concept of kind of doing it by committee. The Kings could totally do it by committee. You know, Malik Monk, some people could maybe make the argument that he was the backup point guard. I mean, obviously he wasn't, but he did handle the ball far more than Davion Mitchell did. And that's kind of how you want it to be, considering Monk's talents there. You know, you have Colby Jones kind of handled the ball a lot. Obviously, he's not a point guard, but if you're talking about a committee situation, that's another name that can handle the ball. We're talking about situations where they want Keegan Murray to have a bigger role in terms of being able to create with the ball in his hands, or at least start orienting him towards that. And then, you know, I think there are various points in the season where you saw like Herter get 4, 5, 6 assists just randomly. Not saying that he's a point guard, of course, but it's just like, again, that committee, guys that can bring the ball up and get things going. And then, of course, you have Sabonis. I mean, you could argue that your main it's not an argument. It just is. Your main facilitator is your center, which might change the conventional standards of how many point guards you need on the team.
Mm-hmm.
So this is my long-winded way of saying I really don't know. They could use the 15th spot. They might not use it at all. They might use it to bring in a guy that plays on the wing, further depth there where they never had depth before, or get another center or something like that. It doesn't have to be a third point guard. It just seems like it would make so much more sense. But also it makes sense that they would bypass, again, going for those conventional standards. So a big question mark there. Interesting. A little bit of intrigue here in late July.
Yeah, a little bit, if you want to call it. 15th spot's again, and not a spot I'd care too much about. Not saying it's not important. I really like Delhi at that 15th spot last season. But then you bring up like Smith and stuff like that. It's like, I mean, yeah, but are they going to want to be third string point guards at this point? Like,
I think if I could answer that question, I think Ish Smith, he's not going to be a backup point guard anywhere at his age. The third point guard, you really just want stability. Like that's what made Delhi so great. Now, obviously, he hit like that 3 in Charlotte, and he hit a couple other big shots here and there. But it's like his main thing, stability, both on and off the floor. Again, kind of just a big question mark, something to consider.